open doorway into a larger space that was clearly a workshop. Larson followed him in, and then saw a spotless white table on each side of the next door, with a couple stools under it. Above them and around the walls were sets of metal shelves with boxes that held cell phones, chargers, laptop computers, big-screen desk models, some with handwritten notes taped to them that looked like descriptions of computer problems, and bills that implied some of them were already fixed, waiting for somebody to pick them up and pay. Kirk reached to the top shelf of the biggest set of metal shelves and stepped backward to pull it over. Boxes slid off shelves, dumping computers, phones, and parts onto the floor, and then the steel frame crashed down on top of them. Kirk looked back at Larson with a gleeful, delighted expression. Larson smiled too. Whelan would have to tell all those customers why he hadn't fixed their stuff. It would pass the fear to the others like an infection. Suddenly the door between the two workbenches swung open, and an older man looked in, already staring in shock at the floor. Larson knew it had to be Donald Whelan, confirming what he thought he'd heard. Whelan gaped when he saw Larson and Kirk, but he didn't shout or swear at them. He instantly pulled back and slammed the door behind him. Kirk was after him in an instant, like a dog after a squirrel, through the door and into the showroom. Larson was a few steps behind, and he saw Whelan crouch at the counter, reach under it, and pop back up to face Kirk holding a pistol. Kirk's eyes widened as he stopped short, but Larson kept coming. He swung the crowbar into Whelan's head, splitting his skull and sending a spray of blood across the counter and onto the white floor beyond. It was mid-afternoon, and Harry Duncan was in the office in his apartment on Huron Street in North Center Chicago. From the window above his desk, he could look between two old gray stone buildings and see the north branch of the Chicago River, a bit over a block away. He was gathering the last notes and records of the investigation he had just finished, and adding them to the case's fat loose-leaf notebook to be stored, when the desk phone rang. He picked it up. Harry Duncan.
Mr. Duncan, this is Lena Stratton in the office of Ellen Leicester. She asked me to call because she'd like to meet with you this week. Would you be available for that?
It took Duncan enough time to consider it that he had to cover the delay by saying, "Let me just see when I'm free. When and where would she like to meet?" Her office.
She'd like to meet you at the Atwood restaurant on West Washington. If you could make it tomorrow after 3, that would work.
Duncan realized his strongest response to the idea was curiosity. So he said, "I'm sorry, I'm busy tomorrow. Does she have any time today?"
She could be available after 6 today, if that's better.
I can do that. Let's say 6:30. And you said the Atwood.
Yes. I'll make the reservation.
Thank you, Duncan said, and hung up the phone. He couldn't help wondering if Lena Stratton knew who he was. Assistants eventually came to know just about everything about their bosses, which was one of the reasons why, when his last one left, he had never replaced her. He decided that this woman probably didn't know he and Ellen had once been married. To her, Ellen was probably just U.S. Attorney Ellen Leicester, and he was, what? Nobody. Ellen had been good at keeping a wall between what she knew and what others knew. He wondered what she wanted from him after all this time. He finished the case record and stood the notebook upright on a shelf that held the last dozen, waiting for him to put them into storage when he got around to it. As he always did, he reminded himself to do it before the weight of them broke the shelf and dumped them on the floor. He had learned to call these notebooks murder books when he had worked homicide. Too often these days that name wasn't inaccurate. At 6:30 he walked up to the restaurant. It was all windows, right in the State Street shopping district, and he spotted her from a distance, sitting alone at a table for 2, facing the back of the room. She had just turned 42 on March 20th. There was no way he could erase his ex-wife's birthday and get that memory space back. And she still looked young. He stepped inside and she waved. As he walked toward her, he noted that she didn't